It's not my fault that the party of FDR and JFK is turning into the party of LOL and WTF. Members of Congress tweeting things like cancel rent, cancel mortgage, and no more policing or incarceration, declaring that capitalism is slavery, canceling Lincoln and Dr. Seuss, teaching children they're oppressors and math is racist, making Mr. Potato Head gender neutral, and now an emoji for pregnant men. Real, I'm not making it up. When normal people read that San Francisco has basically legalized shoplifting, they think Democrats have gone nuts. They think, that Ted Cruz guy seems like a real stiff. But at least he believes in the concept of shopping with money.
Bill Maher is still tearing into the left, and the backlash is impossible to ignore. The outspoken comedian slammed Democrats for pushing many longtime supporters away from the party and turning them into reluctant conservatives. Maher's brutal critique is bound to leave progressives furious. So, if you enjoy fearless and unfiltered political commentary, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more.
Never too early to strategize. Democrats have been having a lot of donor retreats lately where liberal strategists hold ideathons, where they try to figure out why they keep losing elections. Apart from using words like ideathon. And now one idea that's getting a lot of attention is the Dems need to find their Joe Rogan, a liberal Joe Rogan, because that's why Kamala lost. Republicans have a podcast.
It sounds unbelievable, but many on the left genuinely believe they lost influence because of figures like Joe Rogan. And once you see the pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. Over the last 2 years, a flood of left-leaning podcasts has appeared, each trying to recreate Rogan's relaxed, long-form, just asking questions style. On the surface, it seems like adaptation, but underneath, it's imitation without understanding the formula. They copied the structure, but completely missed the authenticity that made it successful. Audiences didn't flock to Rogan just because of the casual atmosphere. They came for the unpredictability, the honesty, and the willingness to challenge every side, including his own. That's the part that can't be manufactured. And now Maher is stepping in to dismantle this strategy piece by piece, exposing why this copycat approach was doomed from the start.
I think his mind is completely inflexible. His neck, yes. But not his mind. And he's expressed unease with some things Trump is doing, as has a certain disgruntled former employee named Elon Musk, who, like Joe, is another guy who 5 years ago was thought of as a liberal, but got driven into the other camp by bad attitudes and bad ideas, a reversal I completely understand, although I would never emulate. I also see the woke mind virus. I just don't jump from frying pans into fires.
Here, Maher explains how he believes the left pushed influential figures like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk away from the Democratic Party. His argument is direct. The rise of woke ideology created an environment where disagreement was no longer tolerated. According to him, a vocal faction pushed ideas many Americans couldn't relate to and punished anyone who questioned them. Instead of debate, critics often faced cancellation or public attacks. He points to politicians like Seth Moulton, who was criticized after speaking against biological men competing in women's sports, despite being a Democrat himself. The same pattern appeared in entertainment, where comedians like Dave Chappelle faced intense backlash for challenging controversial narratives. Maher's core message is simple. Once a movement stops accepting dissent, it inevitably starts driving people away, fracturing its own support base in the process.
It's the evolution of both these guys. This didn't happen overnight. In 2022, before he owned Twitter, Elon tweeted this chart depicting how he felt about the liberal side having shifted so much that it left a basically liberal centrist like him now labeled a conservative. I related to the kind of mean girl you get from the cool kids in Wokeville when you're perceived that way. They tried real hard to cancel Rogan a few years ago. And when Elon hosted Saturday Night Live in 2021, well before he was a Trumper, some of the cast members gave him the cold shoulder for the sin of being rich.
Maher also points to figures like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk as examples of how political division deepened across America. Years ago, people with opposing political views could still sit together, argue passionately, and walk away as friends. The mindset was straightforward: country first, politics second. But according to Maher, that culture slowly disappeared as the left moved further toward ideological extremes and became less willing to engage with opposing perspectives. Instead of debating conservatives, many simply shut conversations down the moment someone was labeled right-leaning. Over time, political identity stopped being just an opinion and became a dividing line between people. Trust eroded, tensions grew, and both sides increasingly began viewing each other not as rivals, but as threats. In Maher's view, that growing hostility is what pushed America into the deeply polarized climate it faces today.
It's not my fault that the party of FDR and JFK is turning into the party of LOL and WTF. Members of Congress tweeting things like cancel rent, cancel mortgage, and no more policing or incarceration, declaring that capitalism is slavery, canceling Lincoln and Dr. Seuss, teaching children they're oppressors and math is racist, making Mr. Potato Head gender neutral, and now an emoji for pregnant men. Real, I'm not making it up.
Maher then walks through what he considers some of the most dangerous ideas that gain traction within progressive politics. He criticizes calls for canceling rent, questioning how landlords would maintain buildings or cover costs if income disappeared entirely. He also points to the defund the police movement, arguing that many activists promoted the slogan without offering realistic plans to maintain public safety or reduce crime. Another example he raises is the criticism of historical figures like Abraham Lincoln, which he believes often ignored historical complexity and context. To Maher, these weren't isolated fringe opinions anymore. They were ideas entering mainstream political discussions. In his view, that shift created confusion, instability, and a growing disconnect from everyday Americans. He argues that if those trends had continued unchecked during a high-stakes election period involving Kamala Harris, the consequences for the country could have been severe.
Regulation should be a good issue for Democrats. It's certainly one they're associated with. And I think the average voter would agree that banks and chemical plants and drug companies need watching. Telling a company, you can't dump the waste from your hog farm straight into the water supply. We're mostly all for that. But Democrats have become a parody of themselves, just making rules to make rules because it makes you feel like you're a better person. Making sure that everything bad never happens again, which you can never fully do. It just makes everyone else's life a drag.
Another major issue Maher highlights is overregulation. According to him, everyday life has become buried under endless layers of rules and bureaucracy, all created in the name of safety and prevention. But instead of making life easier, many people feel trapped by the system. In states like California, even basic home projects such as building a shed or replacing a garage door can involve permits, inspections, and long approval processes. Renovating a kitchen may require zoning approvals, environmental reviews, and expensive compliance checks. Small businesses face the same struggle. Opening a simple cafe can take months of paperwork, licensing, and regulatory hurdles before serving a single customer. Maher's argument is that excessive regulation eventually stops protecting people and starts paralyzing progress, leaving ordinary citizens stuck inside a system that feels impossible to navigate.
When normal people read that San Francisco has basically legalized shoplifting, they think Democrats have gone nuts. They think, that Ted Cruz guy seems like a real stiff. But at least he believes in the concept of shopping with money.
Beyond regulation, Maher argues the left also became too lenient toward illegal behavior, and he believes that shift carried major consequences. According to him, policies increasingly focused on explaining criminal behavior rather than enforcing accountability. He points to places like California, where changes to theft laws and enforcement priorities created a widespread perception that shoplifting was being tolerated. Whether entirely accurate or not, Maher argues the public reaction was significant. Businesses reported growing losses, communities felt less secure, and critics claimed the message around law enforcement had become dangerously unclear. His warning is blunt. When laws begin to feel optional, public trust in order and stability starts to collapse. And if that mentality spread nationwide, he believes the consequences could become even more serious.
Says that woke is officially dead, capitals. You got to cloud some of this shit. You just officially dead at Brown. After that, their settlement with the administration. What do you make of the president's war on the academy? I don't know what the academy. I think he means. I think the person means academia.
Academia. Well, the
this
academy.
person should go to an academy. War on the academy. Yes, on academia. I'm not totally against it.
Yeah.
Academia needed a hot poker up the ass.
8. Maher argues that what he calls the woke virus spread far beyond politics and deeply influenced universities as well. Colleges were once seen as places where ideas could be challenged openly through debate and critical thinking. But according to him, many campuses instead embraced ideological conformity and discouraged opposing viewpoints. Universities that once valued intellectual diversity increasingly leaned toward a single dominant perspective, with dissenting opinions often criticized or silenced. Maher also points to the growing focus on personalized pronouns and identity politics on campuses, seeing it as part of a broader cultural shift. To him, the issue goes beyond language itself. He believes institutions of higher learning risk losing their purpose when conformity becomes more important than inquiry, turning universities into echo chambers rather than spaces designed to challenge ideas and encourage independent thought.
Party. How are you going to get them to understand, no matter how many times people like Jamie and I say to them, the world is a complicated place, and it's not just about oppressor and oppressed. They have a thought in their head that white people did some very bad things, and white people did some very bad things. And they're all but so did everybody else in the world. But they don't know that. They just see the world through this one prism. And until they do, I don't think you're going to get them off this issue. And I don't think the Democratic Party is going to be able to go forward until they make a decision. Whose side are you on here? Are you on the side of Western civilization and Western values, or are you on the side of the terrorists? Are you with those kids? Because, Mandami, he's the perfect candidate for them. Yep. That's what they think is cool.
Maher also argues that this ideological shift heavily influenced student reactions to global conflicts. On some university campuses, protests emerged that critics believed showed sympathy toward groups like Hamas, creating narratives that shocked older generations. In certain cases, victims were portrayed as aggressors while violent groups were framed as justified or oppressed. Maher sees this not as an isolated trend, but as the result of years of one-sided ideological influence within education. He believes that when students are consistently exposed to a single worldview, it shapes how they interpret complex international issues. While supporters would argue these students are simply expressing their political beliefs, Maher views it as evidence of a deeper institutional problem where education begins shifting away from balanced analysis and closer toward ideological conditioning.
Our universities have been out of control for a long time. They became indoctrination factories. They forgot. There's absolutely no diversity of thought.
Well, and they're continuing to racially discriminate against the law, as the Supreme Court ruled 2 years ago.
There's a lot of inefficiencies. The overhead in higher education, why it's so much more expensive than when I went. The overhead is very high. But I also want to be really clear that Donald Trump is not interested in making them more efficient or getting rid of overhead or dealing with affordability. This is his woke culture war. This is his culture war against things that he doesn't believe in and want to see, and it's actually extending to our service academies.
Well,
West
you don't
Point
have to
Air
be
Force
Donald
Academy.
Trump to think that there's been something rotten on campuses for quite a long time.
In the end, Maher's overall message is sharp and straightforward. He believes that when ideology replaces common sense, the effects spread through every part of society, from politics and media to education and everyday life. Whether discussing overregulation, crime policies, campus culture, or political division, he paints a picture of a country losing balance because disagreement is no longer tolerated. A nation once built on open debate and shared values now feels increasingly fractured, with both sides drifting further apart. Whether people agree with him or not, Maher's warning remains clear. When society stops questioning itself, it risks weakening the very foundation that once kept it united. And with that, today's discussion comes to a close. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.